Welcome everybody to nVision 2016. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to attend what I think is probably the best technology conference in the region. And you know, what makes this technology conference great? I think it's the fantastic sessions we have, the breakouts, the sponsors, the vendors, all those things play into it. But I think probably what most impresses me about this conference is we've got such a diverse group of attendees, right? So we have folks that are technical and we have folks that are on the operational side. We have folks that are in the marketing side as well. And when I think about technology, I think it's a fantastic time to be in business, right? So not just in technology, but if you're in business, it's an opportunity to use technology to make a difference, right? So technology can be all-encompassing. It can be invasive. It can be throughout your business. And so regardless if you're a technologist or a technology person like an engineer or an administrator, if you're in business, technology is one of those things that you have to embrace, and that's what makes this conference fantastic in my opinion. So today, this topic, this first session around top technology trends is really meant to be an introduction, right? It's a primer to what you'll see the rest of the day and to help you prepare and get the most out of the sessions that we have coming up throughout the day. So introduction of myself, they already kind of told you my name. I'm Brett Anderson. I work with Network Center as an evangelist in the Interactive Services Group. So what does that mean? As an evangelist, I see my responsibility as spreading the gospel of the good things technology can do. And I work with a team of developers and technologists that are fantastic and super talented. And I tell everybody I meet, I said, I love my job. I could sit around and talk about the what ifs all day long. So I'm fairly fortunate to do what I do, working with a great team and trying to blend, I'd call it the non-traditional with the traditional technology. So mobilization, cloudy stuff is the term they used earlier. Those types of technologies with some of the traditional things around wireless and routing and servers and things like that. So super excited to be here today. Thanks for having me. The agenda today, we're going to talk about top technology trends, and we're going to break it into two groupings, right? So when you talk about trends in technology, there's always things that are important today, and there's things that are going to be important in the future. So we'll talk about first sort of the less impactful pieces of technology, some things that are coming up that are pretty cool that I think in 3-4 years will be very impactful, but for next year, 2017, probably not as critical for you to be aware of. But the second group is where we'll probably dive a little bit deeper, right? And we'll talk about some things that are current relative to technology, how it can impact your business. And in that second grouping, that's where we're going to lay out some of the sessions for later today, right? So as some of the critical and current technologies we talk about this morning, I'm going to point out some of the sessions if you want to learn more, if you want to go deeper, right? I've only got half an hour up here, so the breakout sessions can get much more in-depth with those. Any questions before we get started? Okay, let's jump in. The less impactful grouping, like I alluded to, these are things that are interesting, they're fun, they're exciting, they're on the horizon, and they're important to understand, right? And understand maybe from a contextual perspective how they may impact you in, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And they may have an impact on business, but what you see today isn't necessarily something that you're going to leverage today to make your business better. Possibly, but it's less likely. So under the guise of less impactful technologies, we'll use the notion of smart machines, right? And there's really 4 groupings under smart machines. You've got artificial intelligence, autonomous machines, VR, AR, and 3D printing. So let's talk a little bit about how each of these work and maybe how they play together and what we might expect in the future. So smart machines, artificial intelligence, this is fascinating, I think. It's really nothing new in terms of artificial intelligence, a term, a brand, right? Not like you'd think VR and AR, which we'll talk about next. But artificial intelligence as a term has been around for a while. But what's interesting is how it's evolved. And specifically using the example of Google's DeepMind, they've created artificial intelligence now that no longer requires a programmer, right, to go in and lay out every possible outcome for the artificial intelligence machine, DeepMind, to think through. It can use its own experience and it can find its own results. So this becomes really more autonomous, right, in terms of its artificial intelligence. It can be set up, basic parameters implemented, and then it can go through the process of figuring out all the outcomes itself. So 2 examples of that. The London Underground, they applied Google DeepMind to the London Underground, and if you've seen some of those maps, it's very complicated, all the routes. without telling it the final destination points it wants to evaluate, it goes and finds those final destination points. You don't have to program it in. So artificial intelligence thinking autonomously on its own to find those routes that maybe are more efficient, more effective, maybe unknown, maybe they didn't understand them. So it's interesting how artificial intelligence has evolved. In addition to that, there's a game called Go, and this game itself has millions of possible moves and billions of possible outcomes, and DeepMind from Google beat a human being in it. And that's really the differentiator. You think about humans, our ability to process multiple choices and selections is now starting to be trumped more so by artificial intelligence machines. So it's fascinating how this has evolved. The next piece is autonomous machines. This is an evolution as well, right? So you're probably familiar with the Roomba vacuum cleaner, right, from iRobot, the little round disc that can run around your living room, and it knows how to make its way around furniture, from carpets to wood floor, and it learns over time where certain aspects of your living room are set up right. You've got a couch here and a table here. So that's one simple example of an autonomous machine. But another example would be self-driving cars from Tesla, right? So that's moving down the path of things being autonomous machines. So if we combine artificial intelligence, right, thought that's happening by itself without having the programmatic end defined, and autonomous machines, what are we working towards? Skynet, right? So is this likely going to happen? I'm not going to say that, but if you're familiar with the Terminator movies, that's really the idea behind it, right? They built an artificial intelligence with autonomous machines, and they decided to take over the world and destroy all the humans. So I'm not suggesting that Skynet is the next step in autonomous machines and artificial intelligence, and it's not going to necessarily launch, global thermal nuclear warfare on the humans, but that's really the concept behind those Terminator movie series. So it's interesting stuff. Next piece is kind of a virtual reality, augmented reality, and I'll tie these two together for a particular reason. Specifically, let's talk a little bit about virtual reality. You've probably heard of Oculus, right? The Rift, the glasses you can put on. Samsung has some of that built into their phones. I believe the Galaxy phones has a little bit of VR into it. Google has it as well with a little cardboard box you can wear. So virtual reality itself is interesting and it's evolving. And I tell you what, if you want to have a good laugh, jump on YouTube and watch videos of people with VR glasses on. It is absolutely wild. It's the only way I can describe it is they're really immersed in what they're seeing, right? So everything around them in that view, their frame of view, is virtual and it's real, and they experience it, right? Their heart rate jumps up, they start giggling, they're sweating, they're scared, they're nervous. I mean, it's all the emotions you can imagine just in front of them from a virtual reality perspective. A slight difference to that, different to the VR side, is augmented reality, okay? So virtual reality, everything in front of you is virtual, right? It's not real. But augmented reality is different. And augmented reality takes what you see around us here, right, in this room, and augments it somehow, technically. And the best example of that is the Tango software that Google built, and it's available on a Lenovo Fab 2 phone, which was released yesterday, and I hope my boss doesn't hear this. I ordered it yesterday on the company card. Just don't say anything. But I got this phone coming. I'm super excited for it. And this phone has 4 cameras. And what this phone can do is you can take a picture of this area, right? You have it kind of running sort of in video camera mode, and these 4 cameras can measure depth, right? So they can see dimensionally how a room is set up. And using that, you can measure depth. In this example you'll see on the slide deck is like a designer or home improvement company. They're putting a box in this space. So you can put actual furniture of a certain dimension and size into an actual room and see how it fits. But take that a little step further. There's already 20 games available for this phone that was just released yesterday, and a lot of those games are based off of where you're at. So you can be sitting in your living room, augmented reality with your Lenovo Fab 2 phone running Tango software, and you could sit on your couch and you'll see your TV in front of you and the tables, and you can have monsters jumping through the window, climbing up on your couch, scaling the walls, leaving out the door, coming back in, shoot them, freeze them, whatever you need to do with it. From a gaming perspective, it's augmenting what you have for reality today. Another fantastic example of how this augmented reality works is at a museum. There are museums that are leveraging the augmented reality experience so that the displays come to life. So as you walk into the museum and you have your phone and you're looking at a T-Rex, video play. It starts up in the building you're sitting at. So you look at the T-Rex, the thing starts jumping around. It's fantastic. And there's a lot of videos showing how this works. The phone was released yesterday, and this may be one of those things in the future that can have a lot of impact on how business works. Think about it from a construction, remodeling perspective, maybe shopping, right? You can see how certain clothes would look together. Retail, endless possibilities on how this augmented reality stuff can come together. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. The last group under this smart machines umbrella is 3D printing. Now this has been around for a while, and it's one of those similar to, I'd call it like artificial intelligence, that's evolving, right, and becoming much more practical. You know, people are making everything from tables to chess pieces, car parts. I've even seen gun parts made from 3D printers, right? So a machine that can print something right in front of you. Healthcare is even using it to create healthcare specific applications, right? They can 3D print ears. They can print splints for airways, even biodegradable drug delivery tools for cancer patients using 3D printing. So from a practical perspective, 3D printing is one of those things that's coming much more closer to reality and what's available to us as the consumer. And the way I describe it is, I'm going to show my age a little bit here, but if you think back to when you were younger, for those of you about my age, Commodore 64, personal computer. When you were younger, you wanted that for Christmas, right? You kind of wanted, I want this computer, this will be cool, and maybe not a ton of things, I know exactly what I'm doing with it, but I need to have a computer because it's one of those neat things to have. 3D printers are becoming that as well. Mattel has a product called ThinkMaker, and that product is available to kids, right? So you think about what 3D printing can be in 10 years, that's exactly what computers were when the Commodore 64 came out 10 years later. It was massive, right? Because you train this younger generation on how to use it, you get their creative minds thinking around it, and it becomes much more practical from a business perspective. So 3D printing is one of those things I'm going to call kind of moving down market and being a little bit more readily available to the masses. So how this grouping of smart machines fits into business is maybe a little unknown today, but I suspect that over time, over the next few years, if you come back to nVision 2018, 2020, we'll be talking about these from a practical perspective, how they can drive your business forward. So let's talk about the next group, right? This is what I'll call the device mesh. This is a term that Gardner came up with to describe similar to, I guess I'd call it like a Internet of Things, but it's really concerned with more of an integration amongst things, right? So not just individual pieces that are not tied together, but things that are tied together, they're related, and the user experience is critical in importance. So this is a interesting concept when you start considering mobilization cloud data security as 4 pieces that need to come together well for the device mesh to work effectively. And here's a great cartoon. I love this, right? This is so practical. It reads, for those of you in the back who can't see it, the gentleman's turning around to his coworker and says, I think my Nest smoke alarm is going off because Google AdWords just pitched me a fire extinguisher and offer for temporary housing. So that's a great example of how these things are coming together from a device mesh perspective to improve your world, right? So I'll use that in quotes. It's going to be decided yet if it improves your world, but it certainly is going to make a difference. So the first item we want to talk about in this device mesh is mobilization. And I bet you didn't expect to come here and hear this phrase, the mobile revolution is dead. Especially if you're at the State of Technology back in August. There was a lot of rhetoric, I'll call it, based around mobile technology, mobile devices. The growth is just fantastic, it's crazy. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Mobilization and mobile devices has been slowing down. The market's been slowing down for 6 months now. They've expected this. Not only has the market been slowing down and become saturated, Goldman Sachs has lowered their price expectations for Apple as a result of this. So growth will continue for mobile devices, right? They'll still sell mobile devices, but it's no longer at that torrid pace. It's no longer a revolution. They're moving at single digits, low single digits. The average selling price is declining for mobile devices. So this isn't a revolution. This is here. It's today. It's now. So we can talk about it being crazy, hectic, wild. That's past us, guys. Mobilization is here. The mobile revolution is already here. So it's one of those things that we advise our clients to take seriously and consider it from a couple perspectives. What we advise our clients is, one, do something disruptive, right? That's kind of the idea behind what if. What if we did this? What if we did that? Mobilization is one of those things that you can leverage to make your business different, right? You can stand out, you can differentiate yourself from your peers. And the second piece is really look at it from a customer perspective, driving some sort of efficiency with them, or stickiness and the user experience. We use the term stickiness quite a bit. That is entrenching your customer with your business model, right? So making sure you have this relationship with them. It's another reason for them to do business with you if it's easy to do business with you. So in the past, Mobilization 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was a mobile responsive website, right? I got to make sure my website looks good from a mobile device. Well, that's even passed by the wayside. That's expected, that's the norm. What we're seeing is the average time a customer spends with your business is nearly 4 times higher through an app than it is through a mobile responsive website. So what does that mean? Well, if you have a way to engage your customers to drive that stickiness, efficiency, and you can do it via an app, differentiate yourself from your peers, you're going to get more time from your customers. If you get more time from your customers, that means they're going to be more loyal, potentially spend more dollars. So interesting chart here. If you want to learn more about specifically mobilization, I think all the topics will have a flavor of it. Specifically, these are 3 other mobilization sort of based topics we'd love to see you join. Precision marketing, geofencing, technology to disrupt the marketplace, and a case study related to mobilization in healthcare. So love to see you guys join us there. The next group under the device mesh is cloud. And here's what I find interesting related to cloud. If you were at nVision 2, maybe 3 years ago, we talked about, hey, the cloud's coming, right? It was in the first group. A lot of our customers are talking about it. We did some analysis. We gave sort of a case study at nVision of a cost-benefit analysis or a return on investment, total cost of ownership, choosing on-prem versus in the cloud, whether it was for productivity apps like the Google apps or Office, but also from a hardware server perspective. And now it's moved to, you have a multitude of choices to move your business to the cloud, right? So it's something that's here today, and it didn't take very long to get here, right? So we talk about that prior group of less impactful being, that may take 2 to 5 years to be practical. We saw the cloud turn quickly within 2 years, and it became something that a lot of people are talking about to, a lot of people are doing it, right? And Network Center has the experience and the technical ability to help you make good decisions down this path related to cloud, whether it's application-based, whether it's something as a service, whether it's hardware-based. We can help you guys make good decisions around it. So it's a critical decision, and we'd love to help you make good choices around it. Again, there are a lot of topics that have cloud-based components to it. These are specifically 8 of them, from the system administrator's role in the new data center, all the way down to the second to the last one. I threw collaborate and listen. I thought there was a vanilla ice in that somewhere, so I had to put stop, collaborate, and listen. I won't rap for you, right? You don't want to hear it. So that's another good example of cloud related to collaboration in Office 365. Yeah, no rapping. Third component on device mesh, data. Data is going to be one of those things that, as you move forward, is going to be a differentiator in your business versus your peers. Absolutely. 100% guarantee it. We see it today with the customers we work with. Network Center takes an incredibly serious approach to data, from integrations to building it to reporting and analysis across industries, from banking, healthcare, manufacturing, HL7 integrations, service industries. It's amazing how just about every project that we deal with has some sort of data component with it. And leveraging it and understanding what your customers are doing and how your employees are behaving and acting and what they're doing, that efficiency piece of it, it's critical to make a difference, right? If you can get another 1% tick in sales, efficiency, decreased cost, those types of things, that's easy dollars to spend to make a long-term improvement. So data is definitely one of those things on the device mesh that becomes important. And when you think about tying cloud, mobilization, data all together, right, that user experience becomes critical. Not only as a person who maybe is looking at things from a business perspective, but also understanding how my customers are behaving, having that user experience is going to be critical. And I think really the wrapper around these 3 is one of those things that is coming up to be incredibly important, and that's security. From a personal perspective, but also from a business perspective, how do you protect yourself and how do you really watch what's going on around you so you understand it? And we can help you be responsible with that device mesh as security ties itself to mobilization, cloud, and data. I got another interesting cartoon here. I don't think you'll be able to read this, but I'll tell you what's going on here. This guy's refrigerator is making fun of him to the Roomba, to his Nest thermostat. His lights are making a joke after him. I mean, it's kind of funny in that now that your machines are all thinking about what you're doing, the next step is they're going to start talking together, right? The device mesh. They're going to start working together. And now they're going to start making fun of you. So this is funny and this is interesting, but it is absolutely a little bit scary in that security is one of those things that maybe, I don't want to call it late to the game, but it's the last thing we think about, right? When you think about technology, you're like, oh, this is cool. I bought the Lenovo Fab 2 phone. Who knows what this thing's going to do once I get it in my house, right? Next thing you're going to know, some hacker over in Eastern Europe understands how my house is laid out. I don't know what's going to happen, but security becomes almost an afterthought, and that's unfortunate because it's absolutely critical to what's going on. And we can look no further back than 2 weeks ago when the distributed denial of service attack happened last Friday to the DNS provider from 2 weeks ago. And it all comes back to it being security related. And here's an interesting quote from a gentleman from Salesforce saying, in a relatively short time, we've taken a system built to resist destruction by nuclear weapons and made it vulnerable to toasters, right? You forget the obvious. That's really what happened and how this worked, that denial of service from 2 weeks ago. And I'll tell you the other piece of it that's fascinating is this has become a business now. I heard a statistic this morning that this is a $1 billion business in 2017. Specifically, the bots that were used for that denial of service are available to be purchased. You can buy 1 terabit per second of throughput via 180,000 bots for $15,000. So it's available. You can buy it. I wouldn't know how to buy it, but I know you can buy it. It's out there. So security is one of those things that is absolutely critical to consider when you start thinking about your mobile strategy and you start considering what mobilization looks like and how the cloud and data gets tied to it. A lot of the topics we have today are tied to security, just like the cloud and the data side. Here's 5 topics specifically related to security. I believe the next one that's coming up is a cyber threat landscape, which is going to be interesting. I recommend you stick around for that. Great ones around defeating ransomware. A lot of great topics that if you want to learn more about how security works, certainly visit the sessions, learn as much as you can, grab an NCI employee. We can help you work through some of those pieces. So what do we have here? Well, 2 groupings. Smart machines and device mesh. This is an exciting time to be in technology. I think we're going to look back at the 4 years prior, 3 years prior, and maybe 3-4 years out, and we're going to say how incredibly impactful technology shifts are going to affect our business and change our lives. And it's not unlike what I would call the software revolution from the 90s, right? So you move from the mainframe revolution to the desktop revolution to a laptop mobile revolution. I say a laptop in terms of mobile, but the laptop revolution and software revolution. You're seeing this mobile mesh piece being one of those critical components that are going to drive your business, and they're going to absolutely affect everything you do. So again, everybody, thanks for coming out to nVision. We appreciate having you here, and enjoy it. Thank you.